the world is built on a set of assumptions about what people can know and do and understand about other people. And given that, 90% plus of the world are just Earth people and they can do all those things, that's pretty reasonable. Except that I can't with a lot of them. And that gets in the way of everything. It makes it hard to have friends. It makes it really hard to have intimate relationships. It makes it hard to have jobs. It's always about other people.
I think it's just being able to accept him for who he is. And so some of the challenges with a child with special needs, child with autism, is knowing what they can and cannot do and how they think.
So at 3 years old, he was classified as autistic in Sonoma County by a psychologist. About, I would say 6 months later, so 3.5 to 4 years old, when we moved to Novato, and he was reevaluated, they didn't deem him on the spectrum for autism.
What it's like to be an adult with Asperger's is, I didn't really know until I was in my mid-30s. Up till then, I'd been just considered smart but weird. And it was really as part of the diagnosis process for our son, and Dr. Siegel went, and of course, Dad's probably Asperger's, and we kind of investigated it further and agreed.
Part of me wants to say how wonderful it is that at least you found out now versus 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, because now we understand better. Now we have a plethora of interventions and strategies that can be tailored fit to your child's profile. On the other hand, I would want to say, I know how hard this is going to be. I know that you expected your child to have all 10 toes and be able to communicate to you exactly like a typical child would. And I know this is going to be a tough journey, but I want you to have hope. I want you to know that we now know how to find out what their gifts, their talents are, and meet them where they are and expand.
When your son is 4 years old and still not saying mommy, that hurts.
Yeah.
And as much as I know he loves me, I know he cuddles up on my lap and he makes eye contact, which is not often the case with autistic kids, he still didn't say, hi mommy. Mm-hmm. So that was hard. He says it now. He's come a long way, but those early years were really tough.
I often say I wish I could crawl inside of his brain so that I could really get how he processes information. Why does he understand how to read but not understand what he's reading? Why is he so high in math and yet some really basic concepts come really hard for him? Why sometimes do I ask him a question and 3 days later I get an answer? The bottom line is he's a smart, he's got a lot of skills. And how do I help him integrate those skills into our society and our world?
When we initially heard that, I immediately thought that our dreams were shattered as far as what his future could be. I went like, oh gosh, will he go to college? Will he get married? Will he find a job? Will he be able to work? It was just a big question mark. Now I feel like that because he has language and because he's expressing himself and I see that he's progressing, and he's only 8 years old, I feel, okay, between now and by the time he's 20 or 21, I think that there's a lot that I can accomplish. I think that he will become a productive person in society.
Well, I'm an extreme visual thinker, and that's one of the things that I got from being autistic. In fact, I didn't know until I was, my 30s and pushing 40, the extent that how my visual thinking was different than other people. I'm getting concerned about labels on a lot of mild kids. They're getting all these labels, autism. Now they've taken Asperger's out, which I think was the worst thing they ever did, because I think there is a big difference in terms of treatment on working with somebody that has no speech delay versus the ones that have had some speech delay. severity difference. But I'm seeing too many kids that get labeled dyslexic, ADHD, all these different labels, and they're not going anywhere. They're kind of getting a handicap mentality.
I think if you feel like your child has any issue in any area in life, to be honest, being proactive and getting the help they need is going to make them long-term more successful. And that to me is the biggest piece that I have. Intervention. I was 2.5. I didn't make it about me. It wasn't about being embarrassed. It wasn't about there's something wrong with my child that's going to reflection on me. It was, this child needs help and I'm here to be his advocate.
Because so many of these kids come to us having been through special education programs that are all about what they don't do well, right? So we're going to teach them how to do this.
So if you don't write well, you're going to spend 8 hours a day learning how to write.
Right.
And then if you think about it, adult life is carefully avoiding everything you're bad at.
Right.
That's what adults get to do. All right. If you're bad at math, you did not choose to become an accountant. You went into some other field.
Some other thing.
And so helping our students navigate that flip to, okay, play your strengths, follow that ridge of your strengths, and avoid the things you're bad at and figure out how to avoid it, because that's what adult life's about.
One of the things that we hope that we can do with special effects in the future is to actually employ the students outside of Cypress School. I feel like there's quite a few students here that can work in this field.
I really enjoy it because it teaches us new skills in life, and also it helps us become more aware of, it helps us become more independent, and all over the world with people with disabilities, they can look on this website and it's really good.
Do the research and really embrace the programs and the groups that are available. I learned a good lesson was that it takes a team to raise an autistic child. There's no one particular person or specialist that's going to know everything what to do, and so you have to really be open-minded to listening to each of the specialists, and I think you would have lots of support that way.
There's been a lot of stresses, on our marriage. It's fortunate that, we talk with each other about those things. If we didn't, it would separate us quite a bit, I think. So one of the key important things for parents with autistic kids is to keep in contact with each other, keep yourself rooted with each other. Otherwise, it can drive a wedge between people, and just like any other stressor of a marriage, except that it's constantly there. It's like sometimes money comes and goes, but the autism is always there. So for us to team up is really, really important for us to stay on the same team.
Yeah, definitely. We are a team.
Well, I know a guy that runs a big metal fabrication shop. I know he's on the spectrum. A guy that raises Angus cattle that's on the spectrum. I've been out to Silicon Valley to the big companies out there, and I've talked to young people in their 20s and 30s that I know are on the spectrum in great jobs. As I say, one geek goes to Hollywood, another one's going to work in construction on really fun, interesting jobs. Another one gets to go work for a computer company, and now you've got one that becomes a recluse playing video games and is going nowhere. And this makes me crazy, and they're all the same geek, and I use that term proudly, geek.
I don't go in for euphemisms. I don't think medicalizing things with techie-sounding words changes anything. Normal may have a lot of different meanings, but one of them is it represents a baseline. There's a normal bell curve of human cognitive competency, and I'm not inside it for some of them. That's just what it means. So, the Earth people are everybody else, and it's a somewhat humorous way to be honest about what I am and am not.